Hello, as you can see, I'm starting a relief print, a lino print, but it's not lino, it's Japanese vinyl, which I've used before. You've probably seen it in previous videos. So this is the design, and I've just transferred it with transfer paper onto the plate. So this print is going to go over the top of the mono prints that I made in a previous video. Again, it's using the sort of ribbon idea theme that I'm working with, and I'm going to go ahead and cut it. It's going to be a simple cut, just a one. It's not going to be a reduction at this point. It's not going to be a reduction. We'll see what happens with it. Okay, before I start cutting, I've just noticed that there's a mark on the Japanese vinyl here, which is going to interfere with the print. I don't know what's happened with it, but it's got an indentation in it. So I'm glad I saw it before I started cutting. And the thing with Japanese vinyl is that it's double-sided, so I'm not losing the actual piece of vinyl. I can just turn it over and start again. So I'm just going to transfer the image onto the plate again, and then we'll be back to where we were. So here we go. We're going to start cutting the plate now, and I'm going to start using a fine V gouge, and I'm just going to go over the lines that I've traced onto the plate. But before I do that, I always like to have a warm-up, as I would do if I was doing some drawing, and just get my eye and my hand into the cutting process and get it even. So just by taking a scrap piece and just carving into it, maybe just take it as a round a corner, put curve into it, it's just something that I like to do. I find it quite useful sometimes. So yeah, let's go ahead and start cutting now. So I'm just going to start in the centre really, then work outwards. So I'll take this line here, just follow it through. I'm just taking it nice and steady, taking my time and getting an accurate cut on it. So you can see that the areas here that I'm just carving into, and I'm going to go across the plate and continue that cut, and then come back in a second. So I've cut the outlines now. We've finished that stage. The next is to cut away the background. And that's what we're going to do in a moment. So now I'm going to start cutting away the background. And for this, I'm going to go around the outlines that I've cut with a 3mm, I think it is, a 3mm gouge, a U-shaped gouge. Take that out and then clear the middle area out with a more flatter gouge. Okay. So one of the characteristics with this Japanese vinyl is the plasticity of it. Unlike lino, it doesn't break off quite as easily. So quite often you need to just nick it with a scalpel, which I've got here. So let's begin. So I'll start by cutting away the outline. So you can see it doesn't come away that easily. So just nick it with the knife. Again, just nick that. Turning the plate around. Just taking my time and cutting a safe well where I can just continue to clear this area here that I'm working on. So I've just missed a little sliver on that side and I don't want it to show up, so I'm just going to go back and remove that. Done that. So now I'm going to break the inner part of it down into strips, which will be a bit easier to clear using the gouge, the other gouge. So now, starting with the gouge, I can just take away bigger areas of it. Just scooping away parts of it and just being very careful about the pressure that I apply at the end of the cut, because I don't want it to go into the area that's going to be printing the colour. And as you can see with the lino, I hope you can see from my head, you can see what you cut away because the surface is one colour. I'm saying the lino, and it's Japanese vinyl. Lino tends to be used as a generic term for this type of printing, so my apologies. So yes, the surface colour, which is traditionally blue or green on either side, whichever side you want to work on, doesn't make much difference really. Once you cut away into the surface, you see the inner core, which is black, so you can see where what's left on the surface with this, which is quite useful. So yeah, cleared that. Move that off the plate. So there's a few ridges there which I'm going to go over and just flatten a little bit. I don't want them picking up any ink. Quite often these random accidental marks can be quite interesting on the print, adding a bit of texture and what's the other word I'm looking for? Sort of technical context to the print, but I don't want this time, so I'm just clearing away. You can control the tools by, I often keep my hand behind the blade, obviously. By having a finger at the side, you have a little bit more control over it. So you can control the regularity of the line that you're cutting by the amount of pressure that you apply. If you've got too much pressure and you're cutting a big chunk, you are more likely to cut away parts of it which you don't really want to cut away. So just take your time and cut small slivers at a time. And you can also control it by the angle that you cut at. So it's the pressure and the angle. If your angle is too high, and I sort of regulate my height by my finger here, that controls the height, so I can lift it up and down in the palm of my hand, like so. And it's always worth experimenting and trying on a scrap piece first to get yourself going. So that's one area cleared out, and I'm going to move on to the next now. So come back to you shortly. So as you can see, I'm just finishing off the last bits of the carving and the plate will be finished. So as I've said before, I'm creating a sort of ditch around the area that I'm carving out, and then I can go back with a larger gouge and take more out. Start taking away that area that I don't want to print. So with the edge, I do sort of like to chamfer the edge to start off with, because it becomes easier to carve away if you've got that support at the edge of it. You can see that sometimes the gouge sort of deepens itself and it becomes a little bit tougher to cut because you're taking more out. And it's because it's the angle that I'm holding it. If I lower the gouge nearer to the plate, the handle of the gouge nearer to the plate, it will come up and reduce the thickness of the cut. The depth of the cut, I should say. Being very careful with this cut because I've got my arm in front of the blade, so just not taking any chances with it, just being very careful. And this is the last bit. I suppose there is one advantage of the Japanese vinyl and the plasticity of the surface, the material, and as I find here that sometimes you when you're cutting, you put so much pressure on, your blade will slip, and it can quite often just cut into an area that you don't want it to cut into. Just only millimeters, but it does cut into it. But it doesn't chip it out, whereas with lino, if that happened with lino, the bit that you'd accidentally cut into would chip away, so you would lose the edge. So just checking over the area, seeing if there's any bits that I've missed. No, that's it, I think. So on to the printing.